I'm going to assume you know nothing about makeup, and we're going to talk about cream bronzers today, why we use them, where we put them, and what is that for? What does that mean? Why are we doing it? I have some of my favorite products here. These are the Milani Cheek Kiss, and this is the Fenty Beauty Match Sticks in the shade Swedish. I'm going to go in with the Milani Cheek Kiss today, I think, because it's been a while since I picked this up because I've been so obsessed with the Match Sticks. That doesn't matter. We're not here to talk about product. We're here to talk about placement. We're here to talk about technique. We're here to talk about why are we using the things that we're using. I'm actually going to go in with my new brush from the Details by Tati, but we're going to go in with the Milani Cheek Kiss Bronzer, and we're going to load this up on your brush. And the trick with loading up something like this versus a stick, to get it to look really natural, really beautiful, is to put it on the back of your hand and kind of work it into the brush. So by the time it goes on your face, you're getting really nice, even coverage you don't have to worry about. And notice I'm putting it where my cheekbone kind of naturally is. The highest point of my cheekbone is here, underneath is here. And what I'm doing is creating a shadow to give the illusion that this is even higher than it actually is, which is why we put it down the sides of our nose, to give the illusion that the nose is receding and the bridge isn't as wide, which is why we put it on the sides of the forehead. At the top of the forehead, if you have a larger forehead, I have somewhat of a smaller forehead, so I don't put as much here because it really shortens my face and doesn't look as flattering on me as it might with someone with a larger forehead. My sister, for example, is someone who has a larger forehead than me, and I do her makeup quite often, and I will definitely bronze out the top of that forehead, as well as on my mom. They have the same forehead, because it helps to recede that forehead. And that's why we put concealer where we put it, because we want it to come forward. We're putting the bronzer or contour, depending on the shade. Contour is cool because it creates a shadow. Bronzer is warm because it creates warmth, bronziness, all of the things. So this is pretty neutral. It's a pretty neutral shade, I would say, but you can see that it just allows my cheekbones to look more lifted, more high, more snatched. And that's why we're using contour. We're using bronzer for warmth. If we've got a tan, it can go higher up on the cheeks, because if you've been in the sun or you're someone who tans a lot, you'll notice that the higher points of your face get more red. That's why your nose does, because it is the first thing for the sun to hit. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? That's why your nose gets burnt. It's not because the skin on your nose is more sensitive than anything else. The skin under your eye is the most sensitive, but your nose gets burnt first because it's closer to the sun. So your cheeks are going to get bronzed first, because your cheekbones, because they're closer to the sun. So that is where we kind of like put bronzer, is higher up, and that's more to accentuate a tanned, bronze, glowy look, versus contour is for really accentuating our bones and our structure and where we want to create a shadow to be more intense. And we have to add these colors back into our face, because when we apply a foundation, whether it's full coverage or not, we are really blanking out our canvas, essentially. The foundation is the foundation for everything else to go on top of, hence why it's called foundation. But it's like the base coat, you know, that it takes all of that dimension away, because you might have more sunspots or freckles across your cheek because the sun exposure is there more often naturally. And not that we're trying to look natural when we wear makeup, but something that will help you have more harmonious, cohesive looks and makeup, and for your makeup to look more makeup-y without it looking like you tried too hard or don't know what you're doing. This is a beautiful way to do that. I like to put it into the hollows of my eyes as well, because I like everything to, again, be really harmonious. And underneath my lip, anywhere I already naturally have a shadow, that's where I'm going to implement this bronzer. That's where I'm going to put this bronzer, because I accentuated all the highlights. Why wouldn't I go in and go back in and accentuate all of the places I naturally have a shadow as well? And even though that's really subtle and natural looking, it's not super stark or intense, it has created dimension in my face. Let me know if you have any questions, or if you want something covered in depth. I might have already done it in this playlist linked below, Makeup Made Simple, but if you have a certain request of something you really want me to dive deep on, let me know.